All right, let's get into the news, and we'll start this week with the world of Star Wars video games. This was the big announcement on StarWars.com. Amy Hennig and SkyDance New Media creating new Star Wars video game. Amy Hennig, of course, previously worked on a Star Wars video game for Visceral Studios before that little subsection of Electronic Arts was shuttered by EA back in 2017, and also canceled the game that they were working on. They don't actually mention that in the announcement, but there's lots of sort of little references to the fact that they've worked with Amy before. So they're kind of hiding it, but not really. So here's what the announcement says. A new Star Wars adventure is on the way from one of gaming's most acclaimed creators. SkyDance New Media today announced a collaboration with Lucasfilm Games to develop and produce a narrative-driven action-adventure game featuring an original story in the Star Wars galaxy. Helming SkyDance New Media is award-winning writer and director Amy Hennig, a game industry legend whose credits include the blockbuster series Legacy of Kain, Jack and Daxter.
Dexter.
You didn't know that was a Star Wars game too. And Uncharted. I've often described how seeing Star Wars in 1977 essentially rewired my 12-year-old brain, shaping my creative life and future indelibly, said Hennig, president of Skydance New Media. I'm elated to be working with Lucasfilm Games again to tell interactive stories in this galaxy that I loved. We couldn't be more thrilled to be working again with Amy. She and the Skydance New Media team have really have the talent and ambition to create a unique Star Wars adventure, said Douglas Riley, vice president, Lucasfilm Games. Their vision for making narrative-driven and engaging interactive entertainment makes this collaboration very exciting. We're working hard with their team of experienced and talented developers so that we're looking forward to sharing more with Star Wars fans when the time is right. This is the second significant project for the game studio, which was founded by Hennig and veteran producer Julian Beek to pioneer a new category of narrative-driven entertainment. In late 2021, the studio announced a partnership with Marvel Entertainment to craft an all-new game with an original story and their unique take for beloved Marvel characters. Little corporate synergy in there. Yeah. So Amy Hennig is back working on Star Wars again, but what might she be working on? Well, the good folks over at Dual Shockers believe they know, and they're saying that it is actually a revival of the game that she was working on at Visceral Studios, which was codenamed Project Ragtag. It was set after the events of A New Hope during the Rebel Alliance era, and would have featured a character who was from Alderaan going on an adventure kind of in the underworld and, running into confronting their past in a sense and confronting the legacy of Alderaan and what the Empire was up to. So what do we think? Project Ragtag back. Amy Hennig is back. Definitely Project Ragtag might be back. How are we feeling? Ben, we'll go over to you first.
Yeah, so I mean, I'm very happy to hear Amy Hennig back. I mean, it was very disappointing after the one of many disappointments when it comes to Star Wars gaming in regards to that department. And like Amy Hennig, I have very limited knowledge of the gaming industry, but I've known the name Amy Hennig for years. I think she's a true legend in the gaming world. So like knowing she was working on a Star Wars game, I think was great. And I mean, what we heard about Ragtag, I think was kind of speaks for itself. It sounds like a really cool idea. So like if they can in any way salvage that or do something different with her and, whatever, I think this is great. So, I'm very excited to hear this. I hope it works out this time. Please, 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 please. But she's obviously very talented, very familiar with her work, and I think this could be hopefully a match made in heaven.
Mm-hmm. Chris?
Yeah, I think this is great because this is obviously like probably going to be a very story driven game, which is awesome because Star Wars games tend to kind of range from games that are kind of more focused on like the gameplay mechanics, like a Star Wars Battlefront, the games that are more story driven and like RPG like Fallen Order, and then there's the sometimes combinations of them and parts inside other games that are dissimilar from the rest. So I think that, but all the story driven stuff is really, really great. And obviously, like Star Wars, one of Star Wars' strengths as a franchise is its storytelling. So having a game that most likely is going to be very story and character driven, that pretty much is going to be like you're playing through a Star Wars movie or TV show or whatnot. Like, I think that is a really fantastic idea. And I remember, some of the things that Amy had said in the past when she was working on Ragtag about her thoughts about just Star Wars as a whole and kind of what are the elements that make Star Wars and things like that. And it was really fascinating. And I thought like a very based, I'm not a Gen Z person, but based take on on Star Wars. So it was cool. I'm excited about this. I'm excited for just the diversity and the types of games that are coming out, and I feel like it's important that we have games like this in addition to the other games that we're getting. So this is exciting. I'm hoping that it kind of like activates a whole nother kind of audience of gamers and consumers of media, and expands out how accessible Star Wars is to the general audience. Oh wait, Dominic, you're muted.
Sorry, my bad.
I thought you were doing a bit for a second. I'm like, where is this going?
Very good point. All good points.
Oh, the Porgs. Okay, got it. You're excited for Porgs.
Oh yeah, Porg is a Star Wars story. That's the game.
Imagine if you have a game and you're just playing a Porg. Like, there's this game that exists, I think, where you're just playing like a cat, and it sounds like a really fascinating game.
Why?
So, a Porg game would be really good. That's right up there with me with the game where you're playing a mouse droid.
Untitled
I also want
Porg
that
game. That's what I want.
Yeah. No. I think when you look at Amy Hennig's history with Star Wars, it spans a really sort of interesting and kind of tumultuous period of the franchise, which is she was part of that original EA video game announcement way back in 2013 when it was announced they were going to have 10 years of exclusive rights to make Star Wars video games. They said DICE was making a game. They said BioWare was going to keep making The Old Republic, and they said Visceral was making a game. And it felt like for that entire period of 2013 to 2017, we kept saying, just wait for the Amy Hennig game. Just wait for the Amy Hennig game. Just wait for the Amy Hennig game. And, she got stuck. The game kind of got stuck in this weird place in between everything where it wasn't ever a priority, it felt like, for anybody at EA. It felt like they were more focused on getting those Battlefront games out. And then they had Visceral, sort of splitting their team, half of them working on the Star Wars thing and half of them working on one of their other games or doing, extra content for one of their other games. And, the game itself could never really get off the ground and then was ultimately shuttered. It was, closed up when the studio was closed up. And as you mentioned, Chris, there are some great little snippets of Amy Hennig interviews where she talks about Star Wars and what Star Wars means to her and what she expects from Star Wars stories and what she wanted to do with a Star Wars story. And, she kind of fell into that class of of storytellers in that early days of the Disney Lucasfilm era, where it was really exciting to have these people involved, and one by one it felt like they started to fall off. And she kind of fell into that same category as Phil Lord and Chris Miller and Josh Trank and all of these other people, like Gareth Edwards to an extent, although he stuck around and played ball, where it felt like all of these sort of big grand plans were sort of crashing into the reality of Star Wars being a part of these larger conglomerates, whether it's Disney or whether it's EA. Because one of the stories that existed about Project Ragtag is it was supposed to be this like, cool underworld story with all original characters, and maybe you'd have some familiar locations and you'd be building off of familiar events, but it wasn't like Battlefront where it was here's Luke Skywalker, here's Darth Vader, here's all these familiar characters. And apparently at one point the EA executives looked at the game and were like, this is interesting, but why isn't Chewbacca in this?
I remember that.
Shouldn't Chewbacca be in
Classic.
this? and so the game couldn't get made because
man.
people were like, there were all of these
way.
other forces that were trying to keep it, trying to sort of, keep it within the box of pre-existing Star Wars. And now that we're coming up on the 10-year anniversary of the Disney sale, we're kind of exiting that first phase of Disney Lucasfilm Star Wars. And I think a lot of lessons have been learned about if we want to get these interesting new ideas out there, we have to think about it a little bit more sort of 3D chess like than we did before. It's everything isn't just going to automatically work, which I think they thought it was going to at one point. And so it's exciting that somebody who was a part of that initial sort of wave of optimism is being brought back into the fold. Now that I think people have a better sense of what it's going to take to get this game out there. We're now bringing back the people who actually want to make this game. And so I find it really exciting. I don't play, you know me, I don't play video games. I could care less what studio has the rights to it. I just want whoever has it to be willing to do interesting stuff. And everything that we've seen from Amy Hennig over the years is that she's willing to do interesting stuff and wants to do interesting stuff with Star Wars. And it's nice that she's actually going to get a real chance to do it now that her own studio is working on it. And there's nobody else to answer to. There's no third party to answer to. It's Star Wars and it's her own people.